Hi Amy, this is my third video response to your questions that you posed to me about my initial platform video. So in this third and final video, I'm going to be talking about your concerns that you have about the leadership selection adjustments that I proposed. So you rightly identified that parties do govern themselves by their internal constitutions, and those stipulate how their respective leaders are selected. So that you're right, I'm not sure there's a whole lot legislatively that I could do to force the other parties from adopting the leadership selection changes that I've proposed. However, in this regard, it would be similar to the three-line whip in that it's a lead-by-example approach, where I would work towards having my party making these adjustments, and then the other parties would face a significant amount of public pressure to make similar changes. Once again, citizens would look at the parties and say, okay, if this party's doing it this way and allowing us to be more involved and participate more, and the other ones aren't, what's going on here? So that's where I think, again, the lead-by-example approach would really be effective in bringing about these changes, not just for my party, but for all parties across the board. In terms of the technical apparatus of this new system, and your concerns about strategic voting, that is a legit concern. I had thought about that while producing my platform, and had wanted to address it but didn't have the time. Basically, when you look to the states during their primaries, citizens have the opportunity to register as a Democrat or a Republican. And while we can't have exactly the same system here, because we never know for sure when a leadership vacancy is going to arise, they don't happen every 4 years as they do in the US. But what we can do is establish an electoral cycle of 4 or 5 years, and that within that cycle, a citizen would register as a liberal, a green, a NDP, a conservative, etc. And then once you've registered, during that cycle, you could only vote for the leader of that given party. You could not go hopping around from party to party. That way, the partisan supporters would be forced to really stick with their own party, and that would prevent, as you talked about, a flood of liberal voters working to pick the least desirable conservative candidate, or vice versa. Now, this might seem like it's too restrictive a system, because some people's initial reaction might be, hey, you're restricting our ability to vote. But in actuality, what we're doing is constructing a mechanism that allows people a vote that they didn't have before. Remember, right now, people don't have, regular citizens, unless you're a member of a party, don't have any say in who our leaders are. So this mechanism of an electoral cycle actually allows people to vote. It doesn't restrict their voting. On your questions about electoral fatigue, again, if we look to the states a little bit and look at what a primary involves, it really means connecting with voters on the ground and in a much more personal level than a typical election campaign. So in this way, it would be different than the elections that we currently see. And yes, in the states, a lot of the excitement was caused by the dynamic nature of the candidates, but a good amount of it is strictly attributed to the structural factor of what is required from a primary type campaign. And that's really, I think, where our politics needs to go, as I've mentioned on the forums and in my platforms, reconnecting with Canadians, getting them to believe that the system can work for them, and restoring that confidence. So that's why I think some sort of primary setup would not necessarily result in electoral fatigue. And as for your question, do I have this vision for all the provinces? My initial reaction is that I want to work on establishing this federally first. I think that my suggestions, the debate changes, the leadership changes, and the three-line whip are certainly implementable at the provincial levels, but this would have to be adopted at the discretion of the provinces. I would encourage the provinces to make these adjustments, because I really do strongly believe that they will benefit Canadian democracy, reinvigorate our citizenship, and re-engage our population with our politics, but that would have to be something that the provinces do individually and evaluate what their needs are and their political cultures. So Amy, I hope between this video and my other 2 videos I've answered all your questions. And as usual, I look forward to continuing the discussions with you, potentially in more videos or on the forums. Thanks.